Today on the Brain Possible podcast, we will be speaking with Rupa Mehta, the founder of Nalini Kids. She is a teacher, entrepreneur, author, and health advocate whose wellness philosophy is that true health is achieved by being both emotionally and physically connected to the self. A first-generation Indian American, Rupa grew up in Virginia, majored in journalism and marketing at New York University, and received her MBA from the Stern School of Business at NYU as well. Her work in the field of social emotional learning has appeared in the New York Times, Vogue, NPR, Live with Kelly, and more. In these trying times when it feels like there's always something happening and not always something good, I feel like it's especially important to stay centered and connected to what really matters. I'm excited to talk to an expert today who can share some tips for how to do that. Let's get started. Well, thank you so much for being here, Rupa. Can you tell me why you got into social and emotional learning? What drew you to this field?
I'm going to try to make a long story short. Essentially, I started a fitness business in New York City almost 20 years ago. And I noticed my adult clients, even though a lot of them were thin and physically in shape, they felt overweight to me. And I noticed a lot of my maybe technically physically overweight clients felt light as a feather to me. And that discrepancy in the classroom always bothered me because I felt like I had these physical workouts that were helping people's bodies, but I wasn't attacking emotional weight. And the thing that I felt was weighing down a lot of my clients. And so I started to explore this relationship between physical weight and emotional weight for adults. And at the same time, I was volunteering and teaching a middle school class in Brooklyn, 13 middle school boys. And I started to pair together movement and reflection. And it really made a difference. And it was kind of at the beginning stages of social emotional learning and it becoming so commonplace now to talk about in schools and at home. So I think we do social emotional learning with a twist, with the physical connection, which really makes a difference. But that's what initially drew me in, is seeing that adults would really benefit from this if they had these tools when they were younger.
Oh my gosh, wow. That's an interesting way to describe it, that they are overweight, even though they're physically thin.
Yeah, I mean, the way we kind of break it down is like, it's easy to jump on a scale and measure yourself physically. You can measure your pounds or calories, but what can we jump on emotionally to weigh ourselves? And so I came up with this concept of the weight of words. The idea that we're inundated by words we say to ourselves, words we hear from other people, words we read, and they can weigh us down or lift us up. So your interpretation of the word brain is going to be different than my interpretation of the word brain. And how does that affect our day and our ability to connect with others? And so breaking down emotional weight to make it tangible and practical was a mission of mine.
Wow. Okay. So, and how did Nalini Kids come to be?
So the fitness studio I started was called Nalini Method. Nalini is my mom's name. She passed away last year. She was amazing. She was one of these people that was maybe technically overweight, but her youthful spirit, she had a wisdom and a buoyancy about her that was so light and energetic and emotionally freeing. And so when I had started a fitness studio, I did want to make sure I maintained that environment. And so when I started kind of combining the physical workout with emotional reflections, and then pairing that with schools, it felt very natural to name the school program Nalini Kids.
Oh, I love that. And it's a beautiful name.
It's yes, it is a beautiful name. It actually means lotus, which in a lot of like Buddhism and Eastern religions is a symbol of spiritual awakening. The idea that the lotus flower starts out in the mud and muck and just grows through all this kind of turmoil and challenges and grows into this beautiful flower. So it felt very appropriate that her name meant that kind of spiritual awakening and lightness, and also was my mom's name.
Yeah, that's perfect. And so how does social emotional awareness help us handle stress?
I always love this saying, if you can name it, you can tame it. And I think just just being aware of how to name emotions that are happening is so
Mhm.
eye-opening, especially for children. There is a nuanced difference between anger, frustration, than sadness. So really being able to name it can kind of help you start the journey of then managing that emotion. And I think, like I mentioned before, we really emphasize that people have different interpretations of these words. So, sadness means something different than it does to someone else. So, being aware of not only what emotion is coming up for you, but what your own interpretation of that emotion is, I think is
Mhm.
very important, that distinction.
Yeah. And I had read recently, well, I guess it's been more popular now to talk about emotional learning and how we should be helping them to identify their feelings, right? Like with a word. So, like, oh, I see that you are feeling sad because of your face. I can tell because you're frowning or something, or you're crying. And how is that? Can you, in your mind, how is that, beneficial to be
It's
able to
funny.
name?
It's funny because I go back and forth on this because sometimes when you kind of feed the answer, you
Mm,
know,
mhm,
sometimes you might lose out on the full experience. So, for example, someone might be very happy, a very content person, but maybe their facial expression doesn't show it in the way that you're used to. So
mhm,
I think like in our program and in kind of our methodology, we really try to break down experiences and then kind of name those experiences in your own words. So I'll give a practical example. We have something called the dictionary tool. It's a very simple tool. So I would give a child the dictionary definition of the word sad and say, can you write your own definition of this word and draw out, an illustration of this word? And that is a great starting point. Like you don't even have to name an experience. You can just start with the dictionary definition of something. And we've used this tool for words as simple as sad to words like breakfast to words like politics. You know, it's so interesting to see a student's different interpretation of the word breakfast. For me, the interpretation is I think of like a big meal, I think of waffles with my mom and syrup. Not everyone has that association,
mhm.
or that experience. And so I think it's really important to, yes, to name it and to help children identify common moods or common visual things that happen, but also open it up to say, hey, what is your experience? And would you name this thing the way I'm naming it?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Um, in your quest to bring social emotional learning for kids, you've created some awesome tools that I think our listeners could benefit from. Can you describe subject of self?
Yes. So we actually wanted to create, the study of you and make it very approachable. This idea that you are the common denominator, you are everywhere you go. And so you being able to manage yourself will help you manage whether it's a health diagnosis, a hardship, or an opportunity. And so we broke down this study of you into a 35-week long curriculum that kind of follows the school year. And it's free. There are 10-minute lessons every day that combine an emotional workout and a physical workout and helps kids delve into topics like friendship, community, identity, and help them really understand their own interpretation. The idea is that if we can put our kids in the position of being a teacher and teaching them about their lives, that everyone benefits rather than kind of a top down approach, creating the scaffolding and the framework for students to be able to share the subject of themselves.
Mm, I love that. So, yeah, everything's free, huh? For the
Everything's
kids?
free. Yes, we our mission at Nalini Kids is to provide programs that make movement and reflection a part of every child's life. So we actually have two free programs. One is Subject of Self, which I just
Mhm.
mentioned, and that's broken down by weekly topics. And you have 10-minute lessons a day. And then the other free program is called Word Workouts,
Mhm.
which is based on 40 emotional words that we kind of canvass the country talking to teachers and parents and ask them what are the most common emotions kids feel from ages 4 to 18. And based on that, we've done word workouts that help kids connect words in their lives physically, socially, and academically. So, for example, you would have the angry workout, the perseverance workout, the empathy workout. And that is also free.
Yeah, I know. So why did you do all of this for free?
We were a
Mhm.
paid program prior to the pandemic, and our mission was always to make it equitable to learn
Yeah.
about how to connect. And then post pandemic, I just felt like it was like our duty to make sure that we could provide these services for free and make it substantive. A lot of times when you think of something free, you don't think that it's going to be substantive or rich or there's a
Yeah.
trick to get you to sign up for more. And I just didn't want that. I really believe, your ability to connect is an innate quality we're born with.
Mhm.
And it is your right. It's like a universal right to be able to connect. And as much as I can share these resources for free and share the experiences I've had kind of teaching in an adult studio, teaching kids nationwide. We started out with 13 kids in this program, and now I think we're almost at 250,000 kids that we've kind of serviced nationwide. And we've
Wow.
worked intimately with a lot of Department of Education systems and learn kind of the barriers to entry in connecting not only at school but at home. And so it felt like we had this wealth of knowledge and value. And I've just always been passionate about this. I felt that I was lucky enough from a young age to receive these tools from my mom for free. She always
Oh,
created such a nurturing environment. And I don't know, I've always felt like it's my duty before I die that I have to give what I felt was a really big gift given to me.
wow. So your mom, tell me more about the tools that you got from your mom, since this is her namesake. And
Yeah. I think what I loved about my mom is that she always put me in the position of teacher. Um, a philosophy we had in our house growing up is that, you don't really ask someone what they want to be when they grow up. You ask them who they are now and what they can teach you. And I just felt like that overall philosophy of meeting people where they're at and not having to project into the future really kept us present. And my mom always, whether it was meditation or yoga, but really just listening, just allowed me to explore facets of my brain at an early age that felt very freeing. And so it was really important to me, both in the physical sphere and in the emotional sphere, to make sure that any program we do allows someone from any age or background or experience to feel that they can feel identified in the program. One of the things we really take a lot of pride in, especially because politics has been so volatile and kind of social emotional learning has kind of gotten into that mix, is that we love to be a program that is used passionately by people who live in the city, passionately by people who live in the country, passionately by people on different sides of the aisle. I think it's a true testament to our program and its framework to really saying, like, who are you now? Like, you as an individual, and what can you teach us? I think
Mhm.
it was given to me by my mom, and I want to make sure that I pass that to others.
Oh, and you weren't homeschooled, were you?
I was not
No,
homeschooled. No,
she just infused this in all of the
yeah.
time she spent with you.
Yeah, I just never
Mhm.
felt rushed around her, and I always felt like I could explore my creativity. One of the things that we have as an organizing principle in the program is kind of discovering your one word. We talked about the weight of words concept earlier, the idea that we're inundated by so many words. And what would your one word be if you had, like, if your name wasn't Emily and your name was just like one word to reflect your essence? My one word is connect. My mom's one word was balance. And she always wanted to balance Eastern and Western practices. She always wanted to balance teacher with student, knowledge with kind of, unknowing. And so I think that balance is infused into the program to help people connect.
Wow. What did your mom do for a living?
She was actually an accountant.
Oh,
Um, she grew up going. She was a psychology, like she was a psychology major. She moved to the U.S. and she had 15 different jobs. She loved America. This was her dream, was to raise her daughter in this country and really blend like where she grew up, her roots, but really kind of throw herself into American culture.
mm, she sounds amazing.
Oh, she was. Thank you for asking. And she always felt like education is the key. And in this country, you can be and do anything. And
Yeah.
so having that infused in how you like learn, how you feel comfortable at home, just felt like it was a natural extension of what this country's built upon.
Yeah. It's always beautiful and interesting to see how many first generation, not, I mean, not all, but many first generation people in America really get that, and they embrace it and eh, go all for it to try and just be whatever.
No, truly. My mom used to always say I was her American dream. I was her American dream. Like anything here, anything was a success. And I feel like, especially because I've worked so much in schools and I've seen so many different, had exposure to so many different students who've gone through various hardships, whether it's homeless, not having a parent, not having supports in place, that creating curriculum that makes you feel that you can have a trusted individual in your teacher or even a parent at home that's willing to have that extra conversation or a guardian, was really important to me. And that's what I really like about the program, is that these are very easy wins. This is a 10-minute long curriculum. It can be
Yep.
extended into longer lessons, but it can be done in as little as 10 minutes at the dining table. Maybe you're sitting with your family and you think of one word that comes to mind about the day, and then you
Mhm.
do a word workout, or you pick a topic that has been bothering you, and you explore like what is your view on topics like diversity or identity. Is your view movable? Is it fixed? And what makes you who you are? When we explore topics like identity, it's not only are we talking about you know what you identify with right now, but it's, where did your identity come from? Is it from where you live? Is it from your religion? Is it from you being a sibling? And just you asking yourselves these questions just allows you to understand yourself on a deeper level and help you understand what your barriers are to connecting, and what are your kind of gateways to connecting with others.
Yeah. Well, that's so important right now. So when you're talking about, tell me more about this dinner table idea. I like that for anyone who's listening. How might that look? Then are you saying, so then you would pull out the computer and pick a word workout?
Yeah, I'll give you two examples.
Okay.
So, from the subject of self curriculum, which is more topic based, so we have this lesson. The lesson that's coming to mind is a late elementary school lesson. It's called kind of Me and My Country. And you do a self portrait of yourself and you do a self portrait of your country. And you talk about, have you changed over time? Has your country changed over time?
Wow.
And then you break down kind of what emotions come to mind when you think of yourself, what emotions come to mind when you think of your country. So this is like something that is easily accessible by everyone, makes
Hmm.
you feel like you can talk about current events in a way that feels personally kind of important to you.
Hmm.
And it keeps it fun. You're doing an illustration, and that could happen over the course of one meal. That could happen over the course of the week. Maybe on a Monday, I don't know,
Hmm.
Sunday night at dinner, you start on this illustration, and by the end of the week, you share it as a family. So that's like an example from the subject of self curriculum. Now, on the word workouts, let's say you come home from a bad day at work and your child senses you're upset, or maybe they came home from a bad day as well, and you want to do the anger workout, and you do a physical workout together. You feel how anger is manifesting in your body physically. You become like a detective and you understand how it's showing up in your actual physical being. And then you say, how does anger relate to like my How does anger look like at family? How do we deal with anger at home? How in a community, how does this community deal with anger? Is there a topic that is top of mind in the local kind of air that we need to talk about as a group? Or what is the effect of anger on the body? We have academic connections too. So the idea that you could take one emotion and highlight it in different areas of your life. And so you could take these topics and extend them longer, or you can keep them short. But I love doing them as just kind of quick 10-minute things you can do a day and build a daily habit of it.
Yeah, gosh, how amazing would that be if we were to do that every day with our kids? Especially, I think right now kids are dealing with a lot and they don't even realize what they're dealing with. They probably haven't explored like and named things or thought about not maybe how you would name them, but how they would name them. And they just don't know what it is, but they're not feeling good anymore. And their mental health for kids isn't, it's things are getting worse right now.
It's
Through
true.
this pandemic.
It's true. And for adults as well, like I've never heard such young children using the word anxiety and stress so freely. It's heartbreaking. And I think that sometimes, going right to talking about emotions is difficult. And so having the physical workout is such a phenomenal entry point to rich dialogue. Because let's say like we do the energy workout, which is a bunch of jumping jacks. Like we're all going to feel energy. Let's we have a think workout, which is like stretching your neck. Every single physical workout is a physical manifestation of an emotional word, and it's a great win as a family to do together. And then you can have that added layer of a deeper emotional reflection.
If someone thinks like, well, I'm thinking this would be great for my children's school to do, right?
Mhm.
And you said you've worked with schools. I know your program is free, but how do you handle, do you ever help? Do you have like a guide for schools to
Yes.
implement this?
Yes, I think, my goal would be if anyone is listening and wants this in their schools, please reach out to us. We would love to support, train your staff, help with any workshops. Um, the curriculum is free and very self explanatory and easy to navigate so that entrepreneurial teacher can kind of take it on themselves, or the staff or the administration. And if you're in the mood for elevated support, we're here to support as well. I've worked in various capacities with schools, whether it's in open hours with just the teachers to ask questions and ask, for a bit of advice. Maybe they have a child that they're not quite accessing, but they know would benefit from the curriculum, little tips I could help them with, to actual workshops where I've trained teachers and staff and done a physical workout with the staff. Because like most things in life, adults end up being the problem. And so it's nice to actually model this physical workout, emotional workout for the staff, get them really comfortable so that they can translate these tools to their kids.
Wow, that sounds awesome. I think that all schools should be talking about emotional learning more, and something like this would be wonderful for just breaks, get them moving, get them tapping into themselves and kind of processing life right now and as they're growing up and through everything that's going on.
It's true. And I think a lot of times in schools, things are physically in a different area and things emotionally are in a different area.
Yeah.
You see the PE teacher on one side of the building and the counselor on the other side, and academics as like the other thing. And our goal with this program is to be able to make emotional learning relevant through all these lenses and fun. It's fun to move, especially when you're young. And I'm not saying you have to be an athlete to move here. We've had so many different types of students do this program. We've had students who had felt like they had no access point emotionally. They just start working out little by little and they grow into having these beautiful relationships in the classroom. I've had students in wheelchairs. I've had students who are like on like the next level, want to be triathletes, like truly like all different shapes, sizes, backgrounds, and everyone has access to physical connection, and especially through an emotional lens. The energy workout, like I just said, the jumping jacks. If let's say your physical body couldn't do a jumping jack, you can still do an energy workout in some way, shape, or form. And your teachers can figure out a way, or your parents can figure out a way for that emotion to come out in you. And that's what's really important about our program, is to make it accessible to everyone,
Mhm.
um, and make sure that the physical workout doesn't feel intimidating. And so
Yeah.
that, that's one access point. And another way we access this, especially in the subject of self-curriculum, is through the illustrations. A lot of times it is hard to talk about your emotions, but drawing something out, or seeing it as a group discussion in your family and seeing someone else be more vulnerable, or students in your class be vulnerable, allows you to feel like it's more commonplace to kind of then share. And,
Mhm.
the thing about the curriculum is that it keeps things moving. Sometimes when you start to talk about emotions, maybe you might end up taking such a deep dive and you're like, I didn't really need to go that deep. Maybe that conversation needs to be reserved for a therapist or a counselor or a medical professional. But I want to make sure my child has access and an outlet. That's where I think we really find a good balance in our framework.
Mm. What age range? I should have asked this a while ago, but what age range are your programs for kids
Uh,
good
ages
for?
ages 4 to 18, we have curriculum for all. We have younger, so all the physical workouts are done through like 2 to 3 minute long videos. So
Hmm.
there's about 5 fitness instructors that help kind of teach the workout. Every single workout starts off with the dictionary definition of the word, and then goes into like a step-by-step breakdown of the exercise. Then what's followed is some type of emotional activity. So I gave you that kind of me and my country example earlier. For word workouts, you might have self connection, academic connection, real world connection. So you would take this word and see, how is it relevant in the past, in my present, in my future? And we ask very direct and hopefully thought provoking questions. And this is all accessible online. Another way we group together our word workouts is by collection. So let's say you wanted to tackle a topic like bullying or community,
Oh, yeah.
the common emotions that come with that. We also have workouts for that as well.
Yeah, bullying's difficult for kids these days, and I suppose it always was, but I don't think it's gotten easier for kids, and especially a lot of kids. I've heard people, adults with autism, have come on and shared how bullying impacted them so much growing up. And I think that schools need to be talking about that more.
No, and it's like the things that can weigh you down, or breaking down bullying into kind of words or experiences, and then breaking that down further, can make you feel like you have a manageable task at hand. If you're just feeling like the word bullying, sometimes you don't feel like you have an entry point. And so I think when we do pair the physical movements with that, it can feel empowering, and also breaking down, what are the words and the emotions that come to mind with bullying, and breaking that down helps a child feel like they have an actionable step. And also what we also emphasize is that, there, not that there's a bully that lies within all of us, but on some level, you take away your resources, you take away your support systems, you know, you might feel angry or depressed or act out. And so, really kind of having this program be available to both the person who's being bullied and the person who feels like they need to bully as an outlet for themselves,
Mm.
uh, educating them on different ways of expressing their emotions and being able to deal with it is really beneficial. I remember we had this student, Sam. He was on the spectrum, and he really felt bullied in his classroom. And as he went through the program, I'll never forget, he told me that the program made him feel like he had a filing cabinet in his brain, and he could file away his different emotions. And so if he knew, like, if he felt anger, he knew, like, oh, my palms get sweaty, my face gets hot. He was able to kind of track that and be his own detective. And
Yeah.
so I think, like, especially for kids who experience bullying, anxiety, all the various kind of extreme emotions that can happen to all of us, being able to break that down and knowing where you are physically and getting yourself present to that is a great first step.
Hmm. Is there a way for you to like walk anyone listening through like what kind of physical, what is this physical workout? Like what is something that you would do with this word bullying physically? I'm
So,
imagining punching.
okay,
No?
so I'll just start off with the word imagine. So we do have like imagine as a workout. And so the imagine workout, I don't think anyone could see me visually, so I'm trying to explain this. So the imagine workout is pretty much crossing your arms across your chest, you're bending your knees, you're sinking down. And this is for like late elementary. I'm giving you an option. You're imagining a drum underneath you, and your feet are the drumsticks, and you're going to just drum your legs really loud on this drum. And whatever you're imagining is going to come to life more and more. So first you're imagining the drum, but then you get to imagine whatever you have in your brain, your kind of your ultimate dream here. And so you're hopefully connecting physically, you're getting a little bit of a cardio workout, you're feeling like there's this drum underneath you, you're in the mindset of the word imagine because you're going to have just heard the dictionary definition of imagine. That's what the instructor will keep on repeating over and over. And then once that workout's completed, you would end up emotionally breaking down the word imagine. So imagine your day differently than it was today. Imagine what your future could look like. How is imagination used in science? How has that impacted you? And so you're able then to make these connections from this one word to all these different aspects of your life.
Wow, that's cool. Thank you for doing that for me. What other results I'm sure you've gotten a lot of feedback from people with that many people who've used your program. What are some of the results that people have shared with you when giving feedback?
I would say the biggest thing that I tend to see is just the connection. It becomes so much deeper between adult and child and children to children that they feel the level of trust increases. Sharing vulnerabilities with each other allows that to happen. And so I feel like that connection piece is key. And I think once you have that connection, then you're able to achieve a lot of different things, whether that be academic success, whether that's just completing a project or having behavior issues decrease. So kind of all starts with that connection. If you feel that your teacher or your parent really cares about you and sees you uniquely for who you are, you're more willing to kind of listen.
Mhm.
You're more willing to learn. And so, if anything, that's really the biggest thing I've heard is the connection piece being the root of it. And then another pleasant benefit that I always get excited to hear about is that a lot of the children just take this on and want to share this with their siblings or teach these tools to other people. And so that level of confidence increases. And I've also heard from adults that just teaching this to their children makes them feel more accountable in their own lives, that they feel like, I'm sitting here teaching my child about happiness and how they can overcome emotional weight. And I might not be doing that in my own life.
Yeah,
Time to step up my game. And so I
absolutely.
think that is a great benefit as well.
Yeah, that's a big one. I think many times, especially probably with our audience, I would guess, well, at least this is the way it was for me. If you're trying to help your kid maybe heal from something, you all of a sudden your eyes are open to all the ways that we need to work on ourselves.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
everything ends up being a mirror.
Yes.
I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, and I just feel like anytime I don't know, get annoyed or frustrated, I feel like I'm like, okay, there's something going on with me, and I have to it's like a big mirror in front of your face being a mother. And I think that what's beneficial about this program is that all the questions or all the emotional prompts and the physical workouts you can do with your child, and you yourself will learn something.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're modeling it with your child will gain more out of it. So
Mm.
it, you know it's not going to hurt you, Emily, to do 20 jumping jacks. It's not like for you to do push-ups. This is a physical benefit to you to do the program and to teach it. And then emotionally to kind of explore the very things that you're asking your child to do. These seem like simple questions, but they're hard when you start to actually put pen to paper or draw it out. Like if I were to imagine my day differently and really think about how I would draw that out, it requires me to dream a little bit, be hopeful. Now, I know so much of what you say is kind of um, turning people's focus to hope and possibility. And I think like when you are able to access different modalities of connecting, then you just feel like it's not as intimidating, talking to someone, talking to my family, connecting with others. And that's what we're trying to break down, are those barriers.
Yeah, thank you. How can our audience find out more about you and your work? So there's several different places, right?
Yes. So Nalini Kids, NALINI, Nalini Kids.org is kind of the parent kind of nonprofit organization. Like I said, the mission is to provide programs that combine movement and reflection and make that accessible to every child. So you can kind of go there and learn more about our organization, our history, our relationship with schools, etc. And you can also access 2 programs from there, but you can also access them separately. Subjectofself.org. If you go to subjectofself.org, the sign up is free. You do have to provide your email address, but you have access to a 35-week long curriculum, PK through 12, 10-minute daily workouts. And then the second program, which you can access through Nalini Kids, or you can access separately, wordworkouts.org, is free. And right when you land, it says get started, and you can get started. You don't have to provide your email address there. And you have access to the 40 emotional words that we surveyed kind of teachers and parents nationwide to get. But especially because your questions kind of had me talking about Nalini and my mom and the organization. If you want to check out NaliniKids.org, you can. But those 2 independent sites, subjectofself.org and Word Workouts, are both the free programs.
That's awesome. And is there anything else that you would like to share with the Brain Possible audience today to be complete?
I love the name of your podcast. That I just love the word possible and possibility, and when you kind of connect it to the brain. And I guess I just want to piggyback off of that and say connection is possible at any stage in your life and at whatever background you have. And so I realize that a lot of your viewers are dealing with some very traumatic things. Some are on the more hopeful end of their journey. And literally at any stage in your kind of relationship with your child and in your own life, you have room and the time to connect, even if it's just for a minute, a couple minutes a day. And I hope that these tools can help.
Oh gosh.
It makes everything lighter.
Yeah.
You have a really bad day and then someone gives you a genuine smile and a genuine connection and you're like, I'm good. Like that whole day can change.
Yes.
I always think like there's this fact we share with kids in the program that there's 86,400 seconds in a day. And I don't know. When I always think about that number, I'm like, there's 86,400 opportunities in your day to connect. That's a lot of options. And so I hope our tools can help that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it is, such an honor to have you on here. And also, I just want to, thank you again for creating these programs and for offering them for free. People can do them right now from their homes, from their schools. And it's more important than ever right now for kids to really work out their bodies and their minds and get in touch with themselves and why they think the way that they do, to understand that. Yeah,
for sure. Thank you for this opportunity.
I hope you enjoyed our conversation today and that you learned something new. Do you have a question for Rupa? Do you have your own story to share about emotional learning and mental health? We would love to hear from you. Let us know how we can be useful in your journey. Email us at info@thebrainpossible.com. Be sure to subscribe, follow, and share our podcast if that feels true for you. You may also consider visiting our website for more information on stories, therapies, and products that we think that you will love and will support you in your healing journey. As always, thank you for spending your precious time with us at The Brain Possible. See you next week and be well.